You will not survive this album no matter how many limbs you have. Autopsy and their album Severed Survival from 1989. This is the first album in Autopsy's discography, with Chris Reifert on lyrics, drums, and vocals, who also did drum work for Death and their album Scream Bloody Gore, with Eric Cutler and Danny Corliss on guitars. Autopsy creates a mess of an album that actually works. It is like you entered a swamp. The lily pads are drums, the marsh is your bass, and the frogs are your vocalist. Now, all they would need is an insanely talented banjo player, and we'd have some southern fried horror classics on our hands. But instead we get thrown onto a slab, have our face cut open, and have the rawness bleed from your ears as your brain is extracted. It is a very bass-heavy album with an almost muddy feel to it. Severed Survival belongs in a swamp of gore. The slamming guitar riffs and somewhat held-back drumming make this a unique, if not ugly, album. There are times where you feel dirty even though you don't know what Chris Reifert is saying with his brutal vocals. I read some of the lyrics to a lot of the songs. They are despicably vile lyrics, but Reifert vocalizes them in a way that is quite hard to follow. He sort of slurs and mumbles the lyrics while screaming. It is interesting but hard to sing along to. Charred Remains starts off the album with a raw feel. The guitar buzzes like a chainsaw, and then we go into crazed mode, with all the cards on the table made out of human bones. The song is about burning up from the inside for no other reason other than it makes for a kick-ass song. We are followed by Service for a Vacant Coffin, which spirals down into a winding strain of intestines, and takes you for a blood-soaked ride. The song is about a cannibal eating corpses, naturally, and leaving the coffins empty, leaving relatives to believe their loved ones are still in there. Pretty fucked up and awesome. Impending Dread was the first song I ever heard off of this album. It paints a morbid picture with its slow build-up. You could march through a murky bog and feel the eyes of the swamp on you while hearing that prolonged intro. The song is nearly 5 minutes, so it has time to build and then release. The fury that is shredded by guitar strings is nothing short of horrifying. The lyrics follow a person who is paranoid, with the thought of anyone can try to kill him, so in turn he mutilates anyone he sees looking at him via eye gouging and gutting. I don't know why, but Embalmed's intro gives me a very chilling Mayhem Death Crush EP vibe, which I'm all in for. Stillborn is one of my favorites, if not my favorite, of the songs on this album. It has the right amount of insanity with its instruments and vocals throughout, and it definitely stands out in this album. It's a romp through the swamp. The lyrics describe a woman performing a self-mutilation/abortion. Never a good idea. We go straight from Stillborn to Funerality, which has a severely evil sound to it. The whole song is plagued by simple lyrics with devious instruments playing with your organs and providing art in the form of music with them. In the Grip of Winter was the second song of theirs I heard. This was back in the day when I would buy individual songs on iTunes solely based on the name. In the Grip of Winter sort of has a breakdown moment in the beginning that is damn evil sounding. It is not a fast breakdown, but it definitely leaves a lasting and graphic impression. The lyrics entail a story of a person who has frostbite and decides to stick their legs in the fire they made. Bad decision. Lots of bad decisions in the lyrics on this album, but they work oh so well. You may recognize that some of these songs aren't on the original album. I own the Peaceville double disc set, which sounds impeccably crisper than the original CD. Back in '88, Severed Survival was recorded in 4 days according to Reifert, and that is freaking incredible. This album was and still is iconic. There are not just the 3 additional songs on the Peaceville CD that make this a must-buy, but 2 other songs from the Horrific Obsessions single are featured on disc number 2. They are titled Horrific Obsessions, of course, and Feast of the Graveworm, which is an awesome title. They do not necessarily fit in during the listening experience, but are still welcome on this now 16-song album that I created on my iTunes by combining the 2 discs. So what started as a 41 minutes album ended up with 20 extra minutes and 5 additional songs. Awesome! To say the bass guitar is awesome in this album is an understatement. It overtakes some of the songs and I love it for that. I do not know about you, but sometimes it is hard to pinpoint the bass in some albums. Hell, even some bands. Autopsy may be primitive in performance and technology on this album, but damn do they deliver. The album artwork also delivers on 2 accounts. The reissue, which I own, has maniacal surgeons ready to take on their next patient. You. While the original artwork has a guy who's already been torn in two, but he's getting a facelift and ton extraction on top of it. My favorite would have to be the original artwork because I grew up with that artwork. I've been listening to Autopsy since I was like 15. Severed Survival is a mess, and that is why I and so many others love it. It is raw and primitive death metal at its finest. Chris Reifert is a gore god if I ever heard one. I think artists who can play drums and squeal, growl, scream, or what have you, while playing that instrument are awesome, kind of like Nocturnus. Hint, hint. The best songs on this album for me are from least to greatest. Number 8, Charred Remains. Number 7, Critical Madness. Number 6, Gasping for Air. Number 5, Disembowel. Number 4, Funerality. Number 3, In the Grip of Winter. Number 2, Impending Dread. And number 1, Stillborn. Low for all I give, Autopsy, and their album Severed Survival from 1989. A 4.5 out of 5. Lion Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below and to leave comments and subscribe.